Andrew Kolikoff. This is the Secret Sauce Society Business Member Spotlight. I believe I met Steve actually at one of my events many moons ago. He'll tell us how he got invited and the whole thing. And subsequently, Steve has become a friend. And Steve is a coach, but he's more than that. And I'll give him the opportunity to explain what that means. He has a really interesting story and how he got to where he got and being a coach and what he did in his life in the music business is really cool, because I was not in the music business. I was in music. There was no business in the music I was in. I played in shitholes in New York. I was a singer, guitarist, songwriter, played in a progressive rock band. And I can assure you there was no business in what I was doing. I was young and just playing and having a great time. So welcome, Steve Feld. Thank you for coming on. First question for you, sir. You're someone I would describe as, and I use this a lot in all my interviews. I use the phrase gas, give a shit, that you can't teach it. It's, you can't take a course in it, can't read a book on it. Everybody has a natural level baked in them. And you certainly have it, Steve. And so let me start by asking, where do you think that comes from inside of you? Why do you give a shit so much about helping the people that you do in your life?
Well, one of my primary goals is I'm very passionate about helping small business owners succeed, because I've been teaching classes to entrepreneurs for years, and the failure rate it hasn't changed since 1932, since they are tracking it. And it's, well, I'm going to be someone who's going to try to make a dent in it and reverse that trend.
I have my own beliefs as to why I think that is. I mean, and it's probably that's a whole conversation.
Yeah.
But if you were to give me the oversimplified 10,000 feet up version, why is that?
People go into business knowing their craft, their skill. They don't know business. So they might not know their numbers or how to market. So they're not generating sales, which leads to no cash flow, which is the number one killer of small business owners, is no cash, no oxygen. I think they just need help being educated in business.
That's sort of like what, what's his name, Robert Carver's in the E-Myth. That's kind of what he says, and I say it very similar. I say that business owners don't know how to let go. They think they can do it all. And the fact is that they can actually do very little. Very few business owners can do it all and are successful at it. Most are just good at one thing. One of the games I play with people, because I coach too, is I tell them, hey, if your company was alive and it could talk and I'm your company, and I say to you, when you're doing X, or whatever that activity is over a course of a week and months, I get the absolute most out of you. Most small business owners don't even know. And if they know what it is, shouldn't that's what their focus should be on, and delegate as much as everything else? So you're dead on. So your why is you just really want to help people succeed in business, because the failure rate has never changed. And what I'm surprised about, Steve, is that coaching has become more the norm now. And most people do get a coach, not everybody. Mm-hmm. Why, with coaching out there, has that not put a dent in the number of failures?
Because there's so many new business owners starting, and only a small portion of them get a coach, a mentor, an advisor to help them guide through it. They're actually the success ones. That's where the success rate is. So they're staying in that success rate portion of it, which is so minute. And then the others are getting a coach and they're failing.
I would also add one other thing to that. I think you're right. And I would add one other thing, and that is that, let's look at realtors. The top 10% of realtors, Steve, do, I think, what is it, 76% of all the transactions?
Yep.
Well, guess what? There's a top 10% of coaches, and then there's 90% of everybody else. So I think there's a lot of people that are coaches out there that between you, me, and a lamppost, they ain't that great, And I have you on this show because I know what you're capable of. I've heard what people have said about you. And, I do want to promote you because, you also have a really cool story. So why don't you share a little bit of your backstory before we talk a little bit about where we're at today? So tell us a little bit. I mentioned the music business. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I've owned and operated 6 different businesses. I came from an entrepreneur family. My mom and my dad each owned businesses, so that struck it all up. And I was that kid in, elementary school selling snacks and everything out of burgers. So I started the entrepreneurial journey very early. And then I ran 3 other companies, part of 3 different Fortune 500 companies, but I was the guy they would call in to turn companies around and not just go in as change management structure. I'd go in there and I used to joke, I'm going to blow it inside out and rebuild the whole house even bigger and better than it's ever been before.
So you have done that multiple times with the various companies you had worked with.
Yes.
Now, what about, but prior to that though, didn't you work in the music industry?
Yes, I did a lot of years working for division of Warner Brothers and many other Sony. And I traveled around with different musical acts, handling all their merchandise all over the whole world. And I started improving the actual process of merchandise sales and how to settle shows. I used to settle shows that used to take stadium tours that would take 12, 13 hours to end a night. I'd get it down to 2 hours because I'm big in process improvement.
So do you mind naming some of the acts that you were working with and close to?
I did the Eagles when they did the Hell Freezes Over tour. And then Paul Simon, Lollapalooza, many years. Jimmy Buffett for many years. Let's see, who's hot now? Candlebox. It just can go on for a long time.
Suffice it to say, you also knew the artists as well.
Yes.
So
get to know them.
So, and you got these gigs because you produced so much for each artist that all the other artists said, you got to hire Steve, and Steve's the guy that's going to make you money on your merchandising.
Yeah, I got niched into doing stadium global tours, and I got niched into that for quite a few years. It's a lot more work, but it was fun.
Sounds like one giant party, if you ask me.
Yeah, 20-hour work day, 30 days a week.
It's not good to have a personal life in doing that, but man, did you
There is no personal life.
Right, but you had fun, right? You got to see a lot of free shows,
Yeah, that's, never the goal of it. It was more like, hey, I got to see the world. I got to travel the world, get paid for it. I got to experience things I don't think a majority of people will put it on their bucket list I've experienced. And I'd never, ever give that away.
You suck, because I didn't have that. So there's that. Yeah. So, okay. So then from there, you went into business, you turned companies around. When did you decide that you were going to go get into coaching and do it on your own?
My very first company, I was writing business plans for tech companies that were looking for funding. Back then, it was just about hardware. Then they started getting in front of venture capitalists and said, hey, listen, I know how to talk to these people. So I started coaching them how to speak English instead of tech. Because at the time, they were all the VC people were business people, not technology people, because it was so new. So I started coaching them how to speak, do PowerPoints, and then I started doing their marketing plans. Next thing I know, it was like, oh, wait, I got niched in the IT industry, which I am not a techie. Well, that blew up. I said, I'm going to go back and reinvent myself. A company hired me on. They said, we need to turn this company around, start doing change management, expanded my knowledge. Next thing I know, I'm doing coaching and consulting. I was coaching the owners and the CEOs how to lead people, how to bring them together, how to move the whole ship faster. And then at the same time, process improvement, efficiencies, and increase the top line because I'm big into marketing. I love marketing.
So let me pause you there for a second, because I just want to make sure our audience clearly understands this.
Mhm.
So I know a lot of coaches. I've been around a lot of coaches. I am one, right?
Yeah.
Steve does, so a lot of people will hire a coach and they help with one thing, right? Either their leadership skills or their finances or their operations. You're pretty much doing like everything. You're handling operations, finance, marketing. How the hell did you become so good at all those things?
Been in 8 operations got me to be that good about everything. So I had to know everything about everything. But I started doing it. That was the key. And I think that's what separates me from a lot of other coaches. Like, how can I coach a business owner on how to grow their business if they've never owned a business, if that coach has never owned a business before? I've owned many. I know what it feels like. I could tell you the highs, the lows.
Exactly. I've owned businesses too, right?
And
I would
I'll
not
tell
say
you what to
I'm
expect.
proficient, however, in all the things that you are, you know?
I pushed myself every time I went into a company, expand my knowledge and get involved. I wanted to be the linchpin. And then
So,
that's how it got me more gigs.
so you started getting gigs. So when did you start? What year did you start coaching?
Full time about 4 years ago now. I had that moment in life. I was shutting down the retail store. It was one of those, the economy went in the toilet, and I had a retail store that was still doing good, believe it or not. I was still showing positive numbers
Was
at the
this during the Great
end.
Recession? Just afterwards?
Yep. It was, I started the business about 7-8 months before it all hit,
Oh,
and I survived a year and a half into it in a retail store with focused on discretionary income.
wow. And then you went into coaching, and how has that been for you? Have you been able, how have you gotten your clients?
A lot of it's definitely referral, and I ask for referrals all the time. But I do a lot of workshops, and I provide a lot of material for business owners to help them. And then sometimes they'll just ask me, I always do the ask, they'll ask me to coach them through things, or
So
business
do you
through all
have
this.
any material that you want to release or tell people about on your website that they can either download? And do you have any upcoming workshops that we should mention?
Yeah, I actually have a workshop this evening. So I'm doing a full focus group, 2 hours. I'm just going to give. I know no charge for like these kind of events, but not now. No. Right now, it's like,
Look,
I got to help
you're
business
preaching to
owners.
the choir,
I
yeah.
give them. Got to help them. I mean, they need people like us. We have to give them what our knowledge to get them through this. So I'm doing a workshop tonight. I will be doing it again. I just opened up group coaching for free. Because if I
Wow.
can help a small business owner do this to get through it, I want to help.
Wow. Okay, so let's pause there. Okay, group coaching for free.
For
Wow.
free.
Okay,
I
and
got to
your
help them.
workshops. So tell me this. So let's do that.
Yeah.
Because this is going to go out in mass. People find out about this by going to your website, your workshops, the group coaching. What is your website address?
It's Biz Coach Steve, BIZ CoachSteve.com.
Okay,
And
so
I'm actually moving everything to the front page instead of having it all in the back stuff.
okay, so you heard that, folks. The man, and look, I'm doing the same thing. I'm giving a lot of things away now because now's the time people need help, right?
Yes.
Most people are like, hoarding, and it's time to, my inclination is do the opposite of what everybody else is doing, right? Whatever everybody's doing, I'm going to do that, right?
Right.
So you're doing the same thing. Why am I not surprised? You're my friend, right?
Yeah, I was going to do a mastermind group, and I was bringing together this virtual mastermind group. Then all this went down. I'm like, mastermind group can wait free group coaching to help the business owners.
And I have a
Absolutely.
mastermind group, the Secret Sauce Syndicate. I should invite you as a guest. So why don't you come next week? It's every Wednesday morning at 7:30. We're doing them virtually now, of course. I have a small group of paid members, and I always invite some guests. I'll send you out a link. Okay, Steve?
Yes, sir.
So, wow. So people that want to sign up for their group coaching, they just go to the website and they can get that.
I even have a landing page so they can see what it's all about. So it's still bizcoachsteve.com/group-coaching.
Okay. And can you give me one more thing? Can you tell me a story or give me some examples of some businesses you've coached, where they were, and then once you came in, what happened?
Yeah, I'll give you one very large company.
Here in
74
Phoenix?
million here in Phoenix.
Well,
74 million
yeah.
a year, not making a penny. Has never had a profit quarter ever.
And they're a
Believe it or not.
$74 million revenue company.
74 million.
How long were they?
7.5 years. Oh, 7.5 years in business.
Okay, we won't mention their name because they probably don't want people to know that. So keep going.
Yeah, when I first met him, he told me he had 84 problems every day. I said, so I know how many employees you have. And there's where we're going to start. And he was shocked that I knew how many, that's what it translated to. And that's what we're starting with. And he's like, why are we not worried about the revenue and everything? I go, revenue's already there. You have a people problem and a leadership problem, obviously. Because if you mention it, that you have 84 problems a day, it's you and you have a leadership problem.
So you got referred to this gentleman.
He actually overheard me speaking to a potential client at Starbucks.
Oh my God.
And we started talking.
You lucky son of a bitch.
Coffee and yeah, 8 appointments later, he hired me on.
Okay, so then what happened a year down the road?
A year later, well, actually 7 months later, he turned his first month profit ever. We went from 84 people, he went down to 12. We outsourced most of his inefficient operations because when we started looking at the operations, he turned his leadership over to a general manager who ran the day-to-day, which increased morale. That's when we started focusing on output and input and started looking at the efficiency because everything was in manufacturing, but other people were outsourcing it. Same costs, same expenses were being utilized. Cut his labor force down to 12, everything outsourced, everything was automated. He already had a lot of this stuff set up. He went from not making money to licensed to print money within 1 year.
In a year's time?
Yep. And
is he still your client?
He is no longer because the money was flowing in more than he's ever known.
You know, doesn't that suck though, when, as a coach, that there you go, you just basically gave them the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They were a mess. And then you ain't making any money anymore. I mean, it's like,
it's like he went from not making a salary to now he's making millions a year immediately.
I hope he remembers you and he takes care of you.
I hope so too. His business, unfortunately, is very highly regulated too. And I think there might be some changes after all this goes down. They're going to get eyeballs back on his industry.
Well, look,
unfortunately,
I'm glad you shared that story. I'm glad you shared your story. That's fantastic, Steve. I'm so glad that you listened to my video, that you went online, you scheduled time. We did it in an automated fashion, right? This happened in an automated way. We didn't talk. You didn't say to me, Andrew, I want to be a spotlighted member. You just, I send out my stuff to the universe all the time. You happen to watch it. You're like, all right, I'm in. And then I see you in my calendar. I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. So Steve,
I watch all your videos, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is a little crazy. So, This is going to be on the Secret Sauce Society YouTube channel. We're going to start sending these out in email to our lists.
Nice.
We're also going to be pumping this out in social media, and you can, of course, use this link and put it on your website.
Right.
So, Steve, thank you. My audience, I mean, this is somebody who's the real deal. And think about what I said. There's the top 10% of somebody in every profession. And coaches are no different. Take it from somebody who is one. They're no different. There's the top 10%. And there are those who will make a significant impact in your business. If you're stuck, especially now, you know, sometimes you have to throw money at things when things are hard. Don't do what everybody else is doing. You know, Kellogg's became Kellogg's because of during the Depression, they spent tons of money in advertising when nobody was, right? And then they became Kellogg's. So, you know, think about that. And Steve, thanks so much. I appreciate you. I really do. And please go to
bizcoachsteve.com.
bizcoachsteve.com. You heard it here. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you. Stay well, stay healthy, and don't be a stranger.
Absolutely. Same. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.